Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to give my character retrospective of Roger Collins from the 2012 Tim Burton Dark Shadows. This has been long overdue. Um, to be fair, was Tim Burton the first person to sort of change Roger Collins up? No, Dan Curtis was. Um, I think that's the thing too. When you're getting into a character that you knew from a series and the product that you grew up, that let's say if you grew up in the 60s and you grew up with Dark Shadows, you knew when you found out that House of Dark Shadows was coming down the pipe, and you look at House of Dark Shadows, does Lewis Edmonds play Roger Collins the same way he plays him in the series? No, not exact. No, he doesn't. Um, he's a different character. He has the same name. He has a close enough look, but this is not. Still Lewis Edmonds, but he's not. He's not the Roger from the series you love and do. He's a lot different. Um, so I think in fairness, I'm not going to sit here and compare um, Johnny Lee Miller's Roger to Lewis Edmonds' Roger from the series, because that just wouldn't be fair to Johnny Lee Miller. I will say that you might say, well, what's there to retrospective? Well, here's the thing to retrospective with this version of Roger. Um, Number one, if you're really going to me, if I'm really going to compare Rogers, I have to sort of compare this Roger to the Roger from the movie House of Dark Shadows. Because look, there's one thing for certain. None of these movies, House of Dark Shadows, Night of Dark Shadows, 2012 Tim Burton movie, none of them are canon to the series, and I'm sure there are people who are sick to death of hearing me say that. But it's something I want to remind you of because it's just look, it's not there's no connection storyline wise to the series. Now, so is there similarities between Johnny Lee Miller's Roger in this movie and Lewis Edmonds' Roger in House of Dark Shadows? A tiny bit. For example, in the movie House of Dark Shadows, Lewis Edmonds' Roger Collins is much more willing. He's much more of a party goer, and he's much more willing to let people in Collinwood. Whereas in the series, he didn't want no outsiders in Collinwood. Um, with Johnny Lee Miller, he's a bit of party goer too, but much more extreme. I would say that's where the similarities begin and end. Also, now, when I say character similarities, I should say, now from a look standpoint, and I would love to ask Johnny Lee Miller this or Tim Burton, whose idea was it to have Johnny Lee Miller just look like a Lewis Edmonds? I mean, because if nothing else, I got to give the Devils their due here. They make the character look really good from a look standpoint. It looks like he could be related to Lewis Edmonds a bit. No, okay, not exactly, but close enough. It's very, very well done. The blonde, you got the blonde hair, you got the suits. Looks good. Um, I will say this, and here's where I'm going to separate. When you look at Lewis Edmonds as Roger Collins, even in the movie House, you could tell he cares for his son. You could tell he's worried about his son's mental state. You're not getting that here. In this movie, I would say Roger Roger wants nothing to really do with David. He doesn't want to be a part of David's life. He much more yells at David than anything for the little interaction they do get. Um, he bitches at David about Egypt that those sheets are Egyptian cotton because he cut holes in them. He makes a joke about balls during a dining room sequence, during a breakfast sequence. They talk about throwing balls, and Carolyn says it's not called that anymore; it's called a happening. um, so, is there a lot of character development with this Roger? No, there's not enough character development to develop a good relationship with his son. What is their relationship? Um, the best that I can say is it's distant at best. Um, and it's worse here because it's not like, when I say worse, when you look at a series, for example, DS, when you look at the series, look, you have a lot of character development they're going to do with Roger in the series. In a frame of a any 2 hour movie, you got to take advantage of certain moments that happen within the frame of the movie. The problem with that is not a lot of those moments really center around Roger, David. They're more Barnabas and Angelique because they really have nothing to do with Roger or David. There's no there's no separate there's no character driven plot device where David sees a dead Carolyn. That doesn't happen here. That happens in house and is beautifully done. Is Roger Collins in this movie a heel? Yes. As much as I love the shit on the writer of this movie, I gotta say that, though the writing was bad, they did paint the character enough as a heel. A cowardly shit heel, but a heel nonetheless. By that I mean, okay, so Roger figures out that Barnabas he knows where the family jewels are. At least he has a good idea that Barnabas used this cane. Uh, so Roger tries to get by the mantle, and turns um, the little thing on the floor. And Barnabas catches him in the act, and he has him by the neck, and he says, "I'll give you two options. You can either stay or be a better father to your dad, be a better father to your son, or I can give you money and you can leave." I like and I hate this ultimatum at the same exact time. Two reasons. I have one more two reasons. They've done look, before I get into they've done nothing. Is Roger a legitimate threat to Barnabas? No. No. And he's not going to. But he could have been even more of a heel in this movie. And I wish they would have laid more seeds for him to even be more of a vicious heel. Maybe he's not, maybe they could have used another angle, and maybe he's working for Angelique or working for somebody who knows Angelique. Again, there's a lot of things they could have done in this movie. I don't want a Monday morning quarterback it too much because it'll just frustrate me. Um, I will say that that's what I mean by lack of development. There's such a lack of development with Roger. There's only one real option to do with him. It's not to stay. There's been such a lack of development. Again, 2 hour movie. A lot of the focus has been on Barnabas and Angelique and some of the members of the family, but not enough to give you no pun intended, to sink your teeth into. And that is an issue with this movie and its characters, in a sense, some of its characters, especially Roger. Because there's not been that investment or any kind of real development with that character, you're kind of going, okay, there's no real reason for him to stay other than his son. And you know that's not going to be, you're sort of guessing what's going to happen at this point because it's predictable, and it is. And lo and behold, no shock, Roger leaves. Because they didn't make him more of a heel, and again, where he could have been informant on Barnabas to Angelique, maybe Angelique had him under his belt. There's a lot of things they could have did, they didn't do. I think the worst thing they do here, no follow through, and you might say, why? Because I do get the sense of this. For as little as they gave you, and I give credit to Johnny Lee Miller more so than anything else, is that Johnny Lee Miller's Roger Collins strikes me as somebody who is so greedy he will always want more. Now, could you say they're sort of throwing Jason McGuire's character in with his? Maybe. I'm not saying they did, because I have no proof of that. But I do sense a greed of Johnny Lee Miller's Roger Collins. And I always got the sense that he was very greedy. And he's very proud. He's very proud of to be a Collins. My thing is, because okay, no development past that. He leaves. There's no follow through. Where's the pride of the Collins family members say, "Yeah, you may have kicked me out, but I'll be back, and I won't be alone." Or go to Angelique. Again, I've said there's a lot of things they could have did, and they could have, but they don't. I will, as much as I've condemned, I've commended, because I do think they did a good job of painting the character as a heel. Um, should this story have been about Barnabas and Angelique? Sure. I just think you don't have to do everything all in one film, which is why you could have developed a lot of the characters who were going to be around Barnabas much more. There's some of them are developed. Elizabeth, is developed. About Maggie. Um, is Willie Loomis developed? I love me some Jackie Earl Haley as Willie Loomis now. He doesn't need to be that developed. Jackie Earl Haley is so naturally good as Willie Loomis. He doesn't need a bunch of development. He's he's got a great one liner in this fucking. Oh my god. Oh, I wish I wish this movie would have been a hit and would have been written better. Jack Earl Haley, if you're in the sound of my voice, you did a phenomenal job, dude. You entertained the hell out of me in this movie. Um, I really enjoyed his take on Willie. Because it made sense. I mean, he's terrified of the supernatural. He's a chick. He's one of those chicken shits that, like, yeah, I'll do whatever you tell me. I don't care. I'm in it for the money. I can get behind that. You know what I mean? He's out for himself too. Um, it's just it makes sense to do that with a character like Willie Loomis. With Roger, again, I'll give credit where credit's due. They paint him as a heel, check. He's enough of a heel that you get he's a heel because he's out for himself. He's out for himself too and money, but he's also a womanizer. He's also somebody who doesn't understand his cousin's a vampire. um, he finds out very quickly his cousin's got some easy. You're somebody's holding you up by one arm. um, they're rough. I think again, what ultimately hurts Johnny Lee Miller's Roger is there's no. I'm not saying you need Roger life story of Roger Collins of Johnny Lee Miller's Roger. You don't. You do know that his wife um, died by drowning. So this guy was married at one point in time. Um, which again, really, really interesting. Again, there is some. He doesn't want David to like mess with the valuable stuff. He doesn't really interact with David. He's very distant with him. So you get the sense that he's not much. You do get the sense he's not much of a father. So you do get that at least. But there's other things you're not getting either. Again, it's okay to have a subplot with a movie that has a plot of a witch. What if Roger was working for somebody else? Let's say Roger was working for the Leviathans or whoever. Again, that's something you could have had in here too. They just didn't. I've talked about how I love how the character looked. The character looked great. Kudos to the to the makeup team. Kudos to Johnny Lee Miller for pulling off the look. Um, the look was really good. Again, it's just sometimes lack of development hurts characters more often than because there are some actors who ad lib lines that aren't really part of the script. There are actors who help the characters by ad libbing. Um, I don't know if Johnny Lee Miller ad libbed anything. I can't say whether he did or didn't, but I do. I like that they painted him as a heel. Again, check. Love the look. Like the look. Good job. Just there needed to be a lot more. Not a lot. You could have at least. Okay, we do get the sense that Rogers, even in house, Rogers a bit of a family historian. Why not play into that here? And he already knows about Barnabas Bees. You could have set up a story where it was there's a secret compartment somewhere in the house that Joshua left to know anything about Barnabas and Roger found it. So Roger knows the whole he's a vampire thing, and maybe he's going to find a way to play it to his advantage. Again, it's something they could have played with. So, um, am I going to do another character retrospective of 2012? Yeah, there's other characters I have to do. I got to do Angelique. Um, I got to do Elizabeth, Carolyn, um, Victoria Winters. I might do her next. So I hope you guys have a good night. God bless and take care.